Hello everyone and welcome to the Maximum Guitar YouTube channel. My guest today is a singer-songwriter and video game cover artist who's been making music on his YouTube channel for, I believe, about 6 years now. He's the author of an original album called Songs Come and Gone, which you can check out on his Bandcamp right now. It's Josiah Everhart. How you doing today, Josiah?
I'm doing fantastic.
Wonderful, wonderful. So why don't you go ahead and tell everyone a little bit about who you are and what it is you do here on YouTube.
Okay, I'm Josiah. I've been on YouTube, as you said, for like 6 years. I started doing like video game covers. That's kind of what, I don't know, got me interested in making videos and whatnot. And I did that pretty diligently for like, I don't know, 4 or 5 years. In the last like year or so, I've been on sort of a journey of self-discovery, and I've kind of been, I don't know, taking a break from the video game stuff, and I don't know, just like writing music, and yeah.
Yeah, very cool. So there's a couple sections that we have here on this show. The first of which we're going to get into right now, where I will ask you what it is you would like the screensaver to be in the background while we talk for the next hour or so. It can be absolutely anything you want. What do you want to see in the background? It can be a picture, it can be a video. What do you want to see? Get creative.
I guess go to my Instagram and either get some pictures of my cats,
Okay.
and or take my banner that I have on Twitter and put it up there somewhere.
All right. I might go with the cats. Cats are fun.
Yeah.
So another segment that we have on the show, which is generally done at the beginning, is something fun we do, is whoever was on the previous episode of this interview show, I guess I can call it a podcast, I will have them ask a question to whoever will be on the show next. So the last interview I did was with our boy Insane the Rain Music. Are you familiar with his work?
He's going to ask some like really complicated jazz question.
No, he's okay. So I'm going to quote him exactly, the question that he asked you, and he swears that this is meant to be a compliment. Okay? So, quoting him exactly, I believe I wrote it down exactly. Josiah, would you ever consider voluntarily living on the street in a cardboard box and playing guitar for people who walk by? Because I think you have the capacity to do that.
I mean, I guess if Toby Fox never releases another Undertale game, then yeah, it's probably gonna be cards for me, and probably for Carlos too.
Yeah, honestly, for literally everyone who's ever made VGM. I mean, we got Deltarune coming out, which is nice, but that's like just the demo that's out right now, and the full game's probably not going to be out for a couple of years. So we're all going to be out of business pretty soon, and playing guitar in cardboard boxes doesn't seem too bad.
Could be worse. I think I actually have done that in my little section in Jules's.
Yeah, I think that might have been what he was poking fun at, is the tendies. Tendies. Did you get any tendies when you were doing that segment?
Not from Jules, and I'm still kind of butthurt about that.
Well, if Jules watches this interview, you owe Josiah some tendies. So I mean,
that's right.
Like, that's how it be. All right, so I am aware that you have a brand new original album coming out relatively soon. Can you tell us a little bit about this upcoming album?
Yeah, so when I started working on this, I had done a couple of original songs, 2017, and there's like Dead Moons is on there, and Left Me Behind. And my thought was to make like an anthology album, kind of like Songs Come and Gone, which was basically like an anthology of stuff that I'd done from YouTube. So it was just going to be like those songs that I'd done before, and then I was going to write like maybe one or two more and make it like a little like EP kind of thing.
Sure.
And then like I probably started that like about a year ago, like very early 2018 or so, and I was like, okay, what songs am I going to add to it? And I was like, well, I want to do this song and that song. And like all of a sudden, like I had all these ideas, and then I was like, okay, I'm going to stop at 5 songs and just make it like a full EP. And then I just kept adding songs. So now it's like an entire album that I've been just kind of like plucking away at through the entire year. So we're just like in like short bursts. Like I'd work on it really hard for like maybe 2 weeks, and then like take a break for like 3 or 4 weeks, and then jump back into it.
Yeah. So do we
That's
know like how soon that's coming out? Do you have any idea yet?
pretty soon. Basically, like all the lyrics are done. The songs are pretty much arranged for the most part.
Okay.
Um, there's just some like details that I need to work out. Some of them are like pretty bare bones. So I'm over here at Ace Waters' house. Actually, I'm in his studio right now, and
Yes.
like today I woke up. I stayed the night here, and I woke up, and we've just been like adding like synths and just all kinds of just like little things to kind of like put some polish on all of the songs.
Hmm.
So it's pretty much all there. Like I don't have to really write anything more.
Okay.
So my thought is like soon, very soon, like probably like I'm thinking like a month out at the most.
Wow. All right, that's really cool. So is
Yeah.
it like completely finalized? Are you afraid at all that like you're gonna be like, oh, okay, the album's done. You're gonna be like, wait, I just came up with like half of another song. I have to throw that in there. Like, are you worried that's gonna happen?
See, that's the folly of being an artist.
Yeah.
Is there's always more you could do, and that's something that I personally struggle with a lot.
Hmm.
Like, and you just need to like put the paintbrush down and just let it be.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. So that's very exciting to hear that that new album's coming out. I'm definitely looking forward to it because I enjoyed your last album or EP, whatever you want to call it. I've listened to it a couple times. It's very nice. And I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the song Effigy because that is probably my favorite thing you've ever done. I really, really like that song.
Thank you.
Um, and I'm curious because on that album, I would like to argue that it is considerably different than all the other songs on that album. Is there a particular reason for that? Like, can we get some backstory on that song?
Sure. Yeah. So I wrote that song. Geez, 11 years ago or something.
Wow.
Yeah, it's an old song, but I've always really loved it. It's one of those ones that I don't know, just it's one of those songs of mine that I can listen to, and I'm like, I really like this. Which there aren't a ton of those,
Hmm.
but so back in those days, I had a band that I was in, and um, it was really an awesome project that I was involved with. Like I would write songs, and the other guitarist slash bassist would write songs, and we kind of just like mix and match. And but anyways, that song was an idea that I had pitched to the other guitarist slash bassist. We were a 3-piece,
Hmm.
and he and I would switch between bass and guitar. So like he'd write a song
Sure.
on guitar, and I'd play bass for it, or vice versa. So I had written Effigy, like the guitar part and the lyrics and all that stuff, and then he came up with like the bass line. There's that weird little bass solo that's like after the first verse or something. That was all
Hmm.
him.
Wow. Okay.
And so yeah, I just always really loved that song, and I just kind of felt inspired to like kind of dust it off and bring it back to life whenever that was. Like I think it was like August 2016 or something when
Yeah,
I
something like that.
something like that. So I don't know. There's a lot of music like that like I want to do, but it's really hard to record that kind of stuff
Hmm.
for me anyway. It's honestly just easier to like pick up an acoustic guitar and just do it that way. Like literally
Yeah.
in terms of like production, like mixing and mastering and like recording the lines, it's just way easier. So
Hmm.
it's like that Effigy was like the one of the few times that I've really kind of just like let loose and just went for it with something that was a bit more like higher production, I guess.
Okay. Sure. Yeah.
So
I agree with the whole concept of it really is a lot easier to just pick up an acoustic guitar, play to your mic, sing a couple lines. It's a lot more simple and it's a lot easier to write like that as well
yeah,
because there's a lot less stuff to think about. But it's really cool to see that you sort of seem to go outside of your comfort zone with that and really do something extravagant and large. And it seemed like kind of a big undertaking.
it was, but yeah, I really liked how that one turned out. It's
Hmm.
like in terms of when I wrote it, like I look back on it, I'm like, I wrote a good song, and then I can actually go back and like listen to that recording that I did, and I'm like, I like this recording. So,
Yeah. So
oh,
yeah, like it's just a cool song, man. It's a cool song.
thank you.
Yeah. So I've said, what my favorite song of yours is. What's your own favorite song of yours? If you can choose one.
Like Out of all of them?
Out of all of the songs that are like available for the public to listen to currently that you've composed, or maybe one of your covers if you want to choose one of those.
Yeah, it's hard to say because I don't know. It's like I like different songs of mine for different reasons, and I also hate them for different reasons.
Same.
It's like I look back at some of my old stuff, and I'm just like, I never say like, what was I thinking? Like this whole thing is bad. I'll just be like, the mix could have been better, or why didn't I do this or that? But I guess from like a compositional standpoint of my stuff that's out there, I've always really liked Traveler's Waltz. I think that's a pretty solid song, like compositionally. I wrote that one. I think I said in the description of that video when I put it up that I literally wrote that song when I was 18, and I won the high school talent show with it, and I was always really proud of that. But yeah, I like that one a lot. Some of my piano stuff I enjoy going back and listening to. I kind of have a hard time going back and listening to like any of my video game lyric covers. I don't know why. It's just like one of those things that it just kind of like stress out about it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I was just talking with Ace about this earlier. It's like I know that it's good, and I appreciate the hell out of the fact that people love it so much, but I can't like go back and listen to any of that because it just makes me feel like I don't know I should have done a better job. But
yeah, I feel the same way about some of my covers and original songs. Is I never really think, wow, that is terrible. What was I thinking? I more just think I could have done it so much better. I could have done it so much better had I known I could do this and this and this. But I feel like there's no point dwelling on it. You just got to move on and make something new that's better, where you do the stuff that you would have done back then had you known. Yeah.
What was I gonna say? Oh, my favorite song that I've ever done is Super Mario Kart.
Okay, that's a meme. That sounds like a meme. What is that?
I'm gonna cop out with that one. That's my favorite thing I've ever produced.
All right. I don't actually know what that is, so I'm gonna have to look that up and figure out what that is so I can understand what the joke is.
Yep, you'll appreciate it.
All right. So of the songs that you have written or arranged, what is the song that took you the longest from start to finish to, from it's an idea in my head to it's now like a produced piece that people can listen to online?
Well, funny you should say that. A couple of the songs that I'm putting on this album, I guess, yeah, I've trying to think of like a couple of them I wrote back in like 2011, and it's like I came up with like the melody and like the guitar parts, but usually what trips me up the worst is lyrics, because sometimes it's just like an idea, or like most of the time it starts with like a chorus, and then like basically my number one rule with writing any song is to never force the lyrics. Sometimes you kind of have to, like, to get something done, but like this song that Ace and I were just working on like half hour ago, I started writing in like 2011.
Okay.
Just finished it like within a couple of months, and so like that's a very long production time. It's not, there were years where I probably didn't even touch that song.
Wow.
Yeah, but I guess I always believed in like the potential of it, so I never just like threw it in the recycle bin or anything. I just like set it aside for a little bit and then do some more when I felt like it.
Yeah, there's a lot of songs that like I've written that it sucks because it's like if you come up with a really good idea and you just like don't have you just don't feel like you want to work on it, or maybe you can't come up with what else should go with it, and you kind of put it in the backlog, and the worst is when you forget about it like completely and it just is removed from your mind, and you remember like, oh, I was working on that, and you can't remember how to play it. So you got to be careful with those things. So that's crazy that you had that for, what would that have been now, 8 years, right? And you just now finished it like just today, really.
Basically, yeah.
That is crazy.
It's pretty crazy. And like when I was picking and choosing songs to put on this album, it was like that one, and there's another one that actually started like right around the same time, But I was like, these two are really good and they need to go on this album. So I was like, I'm gonna finish them, and it was a lot of work. And I'm a pretty strong proponent of not, forcing anything if you're not feeling it, because then that's how songs become, I don't know, mediocre. But at the
Yeah.
same time, if you are like, if you have writer's block, a lot of the time, and a lot of my friends would say this, just starting on it, like opening the project file and just like diving into it, even if you're just like clicking drum notes and like MIDI and whatnot. Like sometimes that'll get the ball rolling, and then that'll lead to, you know, finishing the song.
Yeah, I also heavily agree with that. When it comes to production of anything, always, and I think I've said this in at least one other interview I've done, starting is always the hardest part for me and for a lot of people. And just having the strength to be like, I'm going to start working on it, most of the time will mean you follow through with it. There are a lot of cases where like I'll start working on one thing and finish one part of the project, and then something will come up and I'll have to box it, and then I won't work on it for a couple months, or sometimes I won't ever work on it again. But a lot of the time, more than 90% of the time, maybe even 95, I dare say, if you start, you'll end up finishing it relatively quickly.
So like when you start a project, is it like you hear a video game song that you like and you're like, okay, I want to do this, and like that's what you would consider like getting started? Is
I would more consider getting started being hearing it and saying, I want to do this, and then actually opening up the DAW and making a file for it in your computer. Because once the project file exists, then it starts like eating away at you in your pocket, because it's there. It exists now, and it feels like you're doing
hard drive. You gotta.
Yeah, exactly. So that's sort of I agree with you there very heavily. So you do both original music and covers, right. And I'd assume you've been playing music for a very, very long time in your life.
It's been a minute, yeah.
Yeah. So whenever you consider sort of your music career beginning, whether that be with performing or recording or just messing around with friends, do you consider yourself a songwriter first or a cover artist first? Not necessarily as a job, but what did you start pursuing first?
Right. Definitely songwriter. But that was always like, more than anything, that's like what draws me to wanting to play music at all. Is like just the creative process is so important to me. Like writing, it just, I don't know, it's like cathartic in a lot of ways, and just really makes me feel like I've created something. It's like there's all this stuff in my mind that I have to like impart upon the world, and I don't know, I've been like doing a lot of like self-reflection and trying to kind of figure out like why I even play music, and I realized that I don't really enjoy like the actual playing of the music that much. Like it's not super common that like I'll just grab my guitar and sit down and be like, I'm gonna play guitar for a while. It's usually like I have an idea, or like something's bouncing around in my head and it needs to get out.
Yeah.
So when I started playing guitar, I mean, my dad had played guitar, since I was a kid, and I was kind of always a little bit interested in it. And I think there was a couple of times when he like sat me down and tried to, show me some chords and stuff, but it never really clicked until I was like 12 or 13, and I figured out what the drop D tuning was. So you don't actually have to like play the chord; you can literally just do this.
Yeah.
So I found out that not only could I like write music by doing that, or come up with these little things, eventually figured out that I could play "Smells Like Teen Spirit" in drop D, and that was basically like the impetus for why I like wanted to take the guitar seriously and start playing. And so I don't know, maybe the cover thing was what got me started.
Yeah, I guess that's sort of an up for debate kind of question there, which came first,
Yeah.
So you were talking about how you sort of your main reason for playing music is to get ideas from your brain out into the world for other people to hear. So generally, when you are doing that, how do you choose what your tool will be? Because you can play guitar, you can play bass, you can play piano, and you can sing. So generally you'll do some combination of both of those. How does that come to you? What instruments you'll use, what arrangement style you'll do?
Yeah, I'd say that like just by default, I usually go to guitar. I feel like in almost any case, when it comes to like writing a tangible song, it's always like guitar is how it starts, and sometimes it'll branch out from there. But other times, like I'm just driving down the road and like I'll get a melody in my head, and then I'll just like turn on my recorder on my phone and whistle it in there, and then that'll be, I'll start my song from there. But it's almost guitar is almost always the springboard for a song for me, because I think it's what I'm most competent at. It's not even, I wouldn't even say that it's my favorite instrument, but I fumble around with guitar the least, as opposed to like piano. Like I'm a decent pianist, but I'm not as, it doesn't come as natural to me, I guess is what I'm saying. With
Okay.
guitar, which means I have more hours in the guitar, so it's like, I don't know, easier. But
Yeah, definitely. So let's go ahead and move a little bit away from some music stuff and just talk about you for a bit. Because when I originally found out about you, your name was different. Your name was Josiah McDaniel, and you've changed it to Everhart. And I remember you going over that change in a blog, but I figured we'd revisit it for the interview because I'm sort of curious to hear your take on it now. That was a while ago.
Yeah, so anybody who's been following my channel for like a long time, when I started out, my name was Booz and Walsh.
Yeah.
Some people will remember that, and it was just like an arbitrary name that I chose. And I think it was like even my gamer tag or whatever. So it was just like my dumb internet name. So I went with that for a long time when I wasn't really taking YouTube seriously. And then I was like, well, I'm writing these like sort of like intimate, like sad songs with lyrics about things, and I just feel like Booze and Walsh just doesn't really fit the vibe. So I was like, okay, I'll just go with my legal name. So my legal name is Josiah McDaniel. But I had found out within like the last like 5 or 6 years that my dad, uh, who he thought was his biological dad, turns out that he was not. And that guy's name was McDaniel. So my dad's biological dad's name was Everhart.
Okay.
So I don't know. I just kind of, I wanted to take on a stage name, and I felt like that just kind of like sounds more like something I'd rather see like on a billboard or something rather than McDaniel.
Okay.
So I don't know. It was kind of and I like tweeted about it. I was like, I kind of want to change my name, but it seems kind of silly to change it again. But a lot of people were like, no, dude, go for it. So I don't know. Here we are.
Yeah. I mean, it does sound cool because it's like, Josiah McDaniel's just a chill name. It's just like your bro you could hang out with, have a beer with. But Josiah Everhart sounds like the protagonist of a JRPG. So, I mean, there you go.
Yeah, that's what they were saying in the replies to that tweet that I made. And plus, it's like, I don't know, it like has a lot of personal meaning for me, because that's what I am. That's my real name is Everhart. So that was driving the change a lot, was that. So I don't know. I just went for it.
Yeah, it's actually sort of interesting. I'm in a situation because my dad's dad was also adopted, but my granddad, who's no longer with us, did not know who his biological parents were. If I'm not mistaken, I'm not super big into my own family history, but that would mean that my last name is not really my actual own last name. So it's interesting. I might research that. Maybe I'll end up sounding also like a JRPG protagonist soon. Very, very cool. All right. Let me go ahead and see here. What other questions we got? All right. So we're going to talk about your cats. We're going to talk about your cats. You have at least 2 beautiful cats, as far as I know. Maybe more. Tell me about them.
Okay, so I have 2 beautiful cats, and I have a third cat.
Okay. All right.
There's Edward, who's my cat. He's the black one.
Okay.
If you follow me on Instagram, I post usually post pictures of him. And then there's Hughes, or his nickname is the Boob because it's just more fitting than his real name.
Hmm.
He's just like this colorful like fey creature that it's hard to put into words, but I post a lot of pictures of him too. He's the white one with the gray stripe, and then there's Alphonse. All these cats are named after Full Metal Alchemist characters.
Okay.
And Alphonse weighs about almost 20 pounds, and he like when we got him, he had like he was a barn cat, so he has like this permanent like sinus infection.
Oh no.
He's like constantly like sneezing and like there's just like snot everywhere. So he's basically just like a four-legged furry disaster.
All right.
And I mean, like I kind of just like put up with him. He's fine.
He's there.
Kind of a mess. Yeah.
Very, very cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I like them. They're good.
Yeah, they seem nice. So it's actually fitting, this next question that I have written down, that you'd be at Ace's house, because I actually asked similar questions to this on Ace Waters Q&A that he did just a while ago about Involved in the Troubles, which you are a part of. You are the bassist and vocalist for that band. Right. So can you tell me a little bit about the conception of Involved in the Troubles and what's going on with it?
Well, I'll just say that, so how we got started was, I'm trying to think of what the first thing, I think that Austin, the drummer, I think that he had asked Ace and I if we wanted to do a cover of the Overworld theme from Final Fantasy IX. So Ace kind of just like arranged it, and then I put some bass on it, and Austin did the drums, and it turned out like just a lot better than any of us were expecting. And I think that we had treated that like officially as just like a collab, like it was going on Austin's channel, and you know, Ace and I were collabing with Austin. So that kind of put the idea in our heads that we had worked really well together. And then after that, Ace had envisioned that Aquatic Ambience cover from Donkey Kong Country. He envisioned it as like a full band cover, and we were going to get Rich involved in it. And we were talking about like becoming an internet band, and we were like kicking around names. And I had seen there's this like somewhat famous image of like an intro screen for, I think it's Samurai Showdown.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, it's just like the most like butchered like English. I can't recite it, but it's really hilarious. And the last line is something like, you know, what he knew about his bloody life was that he was involved in the Troubles.
Okay, sure.
I thought that was hilarious. So I had pitched that idea as the name, and they all liked it a lot. So that's what we went with. And then like, yeah, every once in a while, Ace would just be like, let's do an Involved in the Troubles track. And then he would take the reins on arranging it and sort of like creating the foundation for it. And then like he would send us all parts, and then like I do the bass, and then Austin would do the drums. Usually Austin did the drums first because I tend to play off his drums.
Okay.
And that's kind of how they would take shape. And then Austin had the idea to do the real folk blues, and they asked me to sing, and that was honestly pretty daunting for me, because that's an intense song. Like that was beyond. Yeah. I was really pushing myself to make that vocal happen. Ace always likes to tell the story of when we were like sending our parts in. Like they had their parts, and I had sent them a vocal, and I was like, I think I said something like, I don't remember what. But anyways, they were like, "Oh, this is great. This is a really good vocal." And I was like, "This is just a scratch vocal. Like I haven't even gotten started yet."
Ooh.
Like, what? And so for that song, I ended up recording. I like turned my mics on and everything, and I recorded for like 4 hours, 3 or 4 hours straight.
Wow.
Of like just vocal takes over and over and over again, and then like I comped those because I'm a cheater.
Yeah.
And then I sent that to them, and they you know, they were like, "Oh, this is really good," but they didn't really feel like it was that much better than, you know, the original take that I'd sent them. Because, you know, it was like I was the one that was obsessing over the details, which is always how it is.
Yeah.
But
I know that feeling.
That one turned out good. Yeah.
Yeah, Involved in the Troubles is great. So you would say that Ace is definitely the leader of this project. He's the arranger. He's the guy who sort of sets the ball in motion whenever there needs to be a new one.
And like historically, yeah, he's always like pushing the project along. So that's kind of why we like the band has lapsed recently, because he's just been like really busy, like just with life, and he's a dad and all that. He has a family, and he hasn't been able to be as like on the ball when it comes to like pushing out ideas for the band. So because the funny thing was once he's stopped like putting ideas out there for songs to do, like the band kind of just like disappeared because no one else was doing it. Rich is always super busy, but I know at one point he wanted to do, I think it's Battle at the Bridge from Final Fantasy V. I think that's what it's called.
Maybe. I don't know much about Final Fantasy music.
Honestly, I know Final Fantasy 6 and 7, and the rest not really. I know some of Final Fantasy 1, but there's that, and I had some stuff that I've wanted to do, like basically anything by Tim Fallon. I've do, but we've just been like not at odds, but we've just been like busy in our own lives, and like sometimes like one of us will pitch an idea, and like we're like, yeah, that'd be cool, and then it just doesn't go anywhere.
Sure.
But I'm always down. I love playing bass in that band. Bass is like one of the few instruments that I can play that I feel like I can sort of like improvise more. Like guitar and piano, it's very rigid. Like I'm always following like structure or a plan that I have. The bass, I can kind of just like jump in there and like improvise, and I've had a lot of fun working with those guys.
Yeah.
So
based on
like no plans to do like concrete plans to do more, but I don't think that it's like over. So I think in the future
the band isn't dissolved, it still exists.
No, it still exists.
Yeah. Do you have any idea how far in the future that may be? Because it seems like you guys are pretty darn busy with stuff.
Yeah, I mean, once my album is completely out there in the world, I would be a lot more open to working on more Involved in the Trouble stuff. I know that Rich and Austin they're always on board, but the attitude is always like, all right, send us a an idea or something, and we'll get to work on it. And there just hasn't been one yet. So
yeah, sure. So you've been involved in the Troubles, and you also mentioned that you were in a band really, really early on, where you ended up writing Effigy. Have you only been in 2 bands, or have you been in numerous bands?
I haven't been in a ton. I've been my original band that I did Effigy with was with 2 friends from high school, a drummer and another guy who wrote and sang, like I said before. And we were together for like 6 or 7 years, and we just kind of like, I don't know, like people moved away, and it was just one of those things where it kind of just, I don't know, it just kind of lapsed. And I think we kind of quit doing music around like 2010 or 2011, and then I kind of was just for a few years there just kind of like still writing music but not really putting anything out there. And then around 2013 I started a band with my brother-in-law just locally on the Oregon coast, and we did like kind of like folk just kind of music. Like he was a songwriter too, and that was another situation where like we did some gigging and wrote songs and stuff, and then we just kind of, I don't know, we just kind of lapsed again. Like people were off doing their own things. But for the most part, I'm usually just doing my own thing. So
yeah, it's definitely healthy to make sure you're always making music on your own, because sometimes it can be pretty difficult to rely on other people. It is super fun to play in a band with other people, but it's hard to accommodate that sometimes because everybody's got their lives and things just sometimes don't work out.
Yeah,
and that's just what happens.
Yep.
So you played in various genres of music in your covers and in your original music. What would you say is your favorite genre of music?
I think I could say pretty decidedly that probably classical music is my favorite.
Yeah.
And I don't listen to it like that much, but like there was a period in my life when I was like 18 or 19, and I like really, I don't know what it was that clicked. Like I'd listened to, classical music before, but it didn't really get me. But I remember it was Beethoven's 14th Sonata, the Moonlight one.
Mm.
And it was the third movement, and for some reason, it just like I had already been kind of like messing around with the piano at this point, and I just really wanted to try to learn to play the third movement, and that's the one that's like really intense and like fast.
Mm.
And I quickly realized that it wasn't going to happen, but that's kind of what got me going on it. And I just like went down this rabbit hole of discovering like all this music and these composers that it just like really, really changed my life and how I approached music at that point. And yeah, it just, I don't know. There's something about classical music that's just like transcendent, and it's almost like, I don't know. It feels like there's very few other genres that can kind of like match up to it.
Yeah,
But
it's the original.
yeah, the original, and just like the level of like intricate detail in the compositions, and it's nuts. Like when you really get into it, like
Mm.
how they put that stuff together, it's mind blowing.
Definitely. Um, so as far as music and let's say like bands, artists, and YouTubers, what are some of your biggest musical influences?
Um, I went through like, and I assume like as a lot of people do, I just went through like different like epochs of like when I was really into this thing, and it really like had a major influence on me, and then I moved on, and then I didn't really listen to that thing that much anymore. And I would say like the thing that really got me going was Nirvana. Like that's what made me want to learn to play guitar. So I really hate calling it grunge music. I
Mm.
hate that term, but that was like one of the first things that like really moved me. And then got into a bunch of different bands. My favorite band, like that I can say without a doubt, is Primus. I
Okay.
always say that people are like, "What? Like you're like a singer songwriter guy?" And I'm like, "Yeah, Primus. Somehow, some way, like I can always go back and listen to Primus, and it's just like I always enjoy it.
Mm.
Whereas like a lot of times I'll go back and listen to something for nostalgic value, but Primus is just like so good. Um, so like Primus, that was a big one. Then I got into classical music after that. Well, let's see. Radiohead was a big one, like in my early 20s. And then, but actually, all of those probably pale in comparison to video game music,
Yeah.
which video game music isn't really a genre. It's just a name for something because there's
Yeah.
all these subgenres in video game music. Uh, but when I was a kid, like that's all I really wanted to listen to. I couldn't really tell you any bands that I liked before I was probably 12 years old.
Mm.
Uh, it was just like all that, Super Mario World and Zelda, all that stuff. I have like to this day, I still have in my possession some old cassette tapes that I made when I was like 7 years old. It's just like Mega Man X and Echo the Dolphin and like or the Acrobat too. It's just like a cassette tape of video game music that I would put in my Walkman and listen to on the bus. Like
That
that's
is
how into it
awesome.
I was. Yeah, yeah. I'd say that throughout my life, I've probably spent the most time listening to video game music, and that's probably what has had the most influence on me. And I think that that kind of goes in tandem with why I like video game music so much because it's similar in a sense that usually like a video game song, it's just notes. Like there's it's how do I phrase this?
Mm.
It's like not a song. There are lyrics in video game music, obviously, but back in my day, when I'd listen to Super Nintendo, it's like you just you have music. There's no lyrics or anything. You just have this piece of music that you can meditate on, and either it moves you or it doesn't. And
Mm.
I think a lot of people enjoy video game music because they associate it with like an experience they've had with a game, or something like that. And for me, it was always like yes, I love the music from The Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past, and I love the game. It's like the music by itself. It's like I could just listen to that like over and over again. I know a lot of people can as well,
Hmm.
but it's not so much that it's like attached to the game itself. It's the music that's beautiful.
Yes,
I don't know.
definitely. Yeah, I definitely know what you're saying. It's like, sure, these tracks, like I find a lot of tracks from games or a lot of score pieces, I will have a greater connection to them if, while sort of meditating on that piece of music and listening to it and considering it, if I draw a connection to what is happening in the game, because that sort of adds, um, gives you better context for the thematics of the piece you're listening to.
Right.
And sometimes it can be difficult to separate that and just think about the piece of music as its own thing off in the ether, as just a piece of music. And I feel like a lot of really great game songs have both, where on its own it's incredible and it moves you, but also in the context of the game where it was intended to be played, it is also beautiful or possibly even more profound.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's really fun. Video game music is what brings us together here on this channel. So it's fun to talk about it.
My musician friends, I still talk to all the time.
Yeah. Speaking of musician friends, can you tell me a little bit about some YouTubers that inspire you, whether they make music or not?
Geez.
Big question.
Yeah. I don't know. I go through these phases where I'll like watch someone a lot. I'm trying to think of like YouTube musicians that like outside of like the VGM community, because like obviously like I would say like all of my friends, like the people you've talked to, Jack and Jules and Carlos, like those guys are amazing, and Rich sucks, but
Yeah,
he's
fuck
good.
that guy.
Oh yeah, exactly, right? This whole time. I don't know, just like interacting with those guys and just sort of like being in the presence of them is always like a major inspiration, especially like when you go to a convention or something and you're around these guys. It's always like any of these guys will say the same thing. It's like you get home and you just immediately want to like go in the studio and get to work.
Mm-hmm.
But like, yeah, those guys, Ace, Rich, all of them. I'm trying to think of like if there's anyone that I watch or have watched, music wise, that I don't know. Usually, if I'm watching YouTube, it's like podcasts and stuff. I really like Sarah Longfield. Have you heard of her? She's a
Yeah, I
guitarist.
definitely have heard of Sarah Longfield.
Yeah. I really, really enjoy her stuff.
Mm.
I probably have to like pull up my subscriptions and like recite some of the people that I watch. But she pops into my mind. I don't know.
There's a lot of them. I understand that.
I think I'm kind of like being overwhelmed with trying to think of one because there's so many.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll go ahead and round off this first segment, the longest segment of this interview, with a question of, after the album is out, what are your plans for 2019?
I don't know. I haven't honestly thought that far ahead of getting it out there. My plan is to finish it and then like I'll set a release date and then I'll probably do like a pre-order thing, and once it actually is like released into the world, I'm thinking, do I want to like try and like send it to like record labels and like maybe get hooked up with like a record label and have them promote it, or am I going to promote it myself? There's like all of that, but beyond like the scope of the album, I don't know. I might just like go back into hibernation and just start writing songs again, or I might be kind of burned out from working on the album and I might want to do more covers. I don't really know.
Well, I'm definitely excited to see where you go. I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to go ahead and move on to the lightning round.
Okay.
I'm going to ask you a series of goofy questions, and your goal is to answer them as truthfully and quickly as possible.
Okay.
Okay, are you prepared?
As prepared as I can be.
All right, let's go. Walk me through your daily routine.
Wake up sometimes at like 10 o'clock. Usually stare at my phone for like an hour. and get out of bed. If I don't have to work that day, I will either beat myself up about not working on a song, or I'll actually work on the song, or I'll play video games and then beat myself up about not working on the song.
And there you go. Yeah. What's your favorite pasta?
Probably macaroni and cheese and like trash. So like Kraft probably.
Oh, nice.
That's probably like my favorite food item.
Cool. What's your spirit animal?
This.
Oh, that's isn't that from Earthbound?
It's the dog from Yoshi.
Oh, Yoshi. Okay, I knew it was Nintendo. I don't know why I thought Earthbound. It looks like an Earthbound character, but yeah, no, that's like
no doubt.
All right, Yoshi dog yarn creature. I don't know what it's called, but it's cute.
Actually, you know what? No, erase. I delete that. This is my spirit animal.
Just Yoshi. Good old Yoshi. Yarn Yoshi. All right, there you go. What was your favorite game that you played in 2018?
Oh my god. I'm just gonna go with an easy answer and say the latest one. I've been playing the shit out of a flight simulator with my VR headset.
Okay.
Yeah. It's like a legit, like, you get in the plane and like you start the engine and like you have to like taxi onto the runway and like the whole thing. I've put like probably 25 hours into it in the last like 2 or 3 weeks.
That's crazy. What is your favorite color?
Green.
Okay.
Blue. Sorry.
Was that a Monty Python joke?
Yes, it was.
There you go. All right. What is your favorite Nintendo character? Is acceptable? Yes, it is acceptable to say Yoshi again.
Yeah, probably Yoshi.
All right. Have you brushed your teeth today?
No, but I chewed a lot of gum.
All right, there you go. Not including your own album, what was the last album that you listened to?
Let's see. Shit. Probably. I honestly don't listen to albums that much. I hate to admit it, but. Animals by Pink Floyd. That was it.
All right, there you go. Not including your own songs, what was the last song that you listened to?
Shit. Let's see. Last song that I listened to. It Gets Funkier by Wolfpack.
All right. What is your least favorite vegetable?
Probably like green beans, I guess.
Same, dude. Like they're gross, dude.
I usually like if they're on my plate, like I'll eat them, but I have to like take them with water.
Exactly. I'm the same way because it's like they're good for you. You know, they've got a hearty crunch, but it's like one of the only things that I will not eat. Like, well, not eat, but like do not like to eat is green beans, and everyone thinks I'm crazy. But
I don't get it. I've sort of developed an appreciation for vegetables, like as I've gotten older, where I can tolerate some of them, and then some of them I actually like carrots.
Carrots are good. I'm a broccoli guy.
Yeah, broccoli's good.
Yeah. All right, moving on from there. What is your favorite chord?
Anything with like a flat 7, I think. Or I'll say anything with a tritone in it. Tritone. I'll say the tritone is my favorite interval, and I use it frequently.
It's cool.
Ace will tell you that it's always hidden somewhere in like pretty much all of my good chords.
Yeah. What is your favorite non-music YouTuber?
Let's see. Who am I watching right now? There's this channel called Gas Station Encounters.
Okay.
It's not like a YouTuber, but it's a channel that it's these guys that run a gas station, and
nice, dude.
Yeah, they'll just like overdub a video of like when someone like tries to steal from them, and that channel is gold. Like if you've never heard of Gas Station Encounters, like go look it up, and you'll just like binge all the videos because it's like super entertaining. So right now,
go watch it, guys. You have it here.
You'll thank me later.
Yeah. Is there anyone in the world who looks at you the way that Rich Addy does?
I would say me. I would say me because when I look in the mirror, I'm basically looking at Rich Addy B.
Really?
Yeah.
You guys are like twins?
That's what people tell me, yeah.
Really? I don't see it, but then again, I've never been...
I'm gonna relate a story to you really quick.
Okay.
So at the very first MagFest that we went to in 2015, back when both Rich and I had just like these tiny little baby channels, Rich was like getting a burger at the nearby burger place.
Okay.
And someone walked up to him and was like, "Hey, do you do YouTube?" And Rich was like, "Yeah, like I'm getting recognized."
Okay.
And I don't know who it was that approached him, but he was like, "Are you Booz Walsh?"
Nice, dude. Oh,
And
that
so yeah, that's a good story. So I'm always trying to get people to, like, if they see him out in the wild, to approach him and ask him if he's me.
really.
So if you see this and you see him at a convention, please, I would personally appreciate it.
All right. If I ever meet Rich Adib in person anywhere, even because the thing is, it's like I know him and he knows that I know him. So if I ever see him in person, I'll walk up and be like, "Oh my god, dude, it's Booz Walsh."
Yeah.
Get all of my friends to do the same, just like with a fucking notebook. It's just like, can I have your autograph? Can I have your autograph, Mr. Booz Walsh?
Thank you.
What is your favorite beverage?
I usually these days I will get a black cherry soda from the New York Seltzer Company.
Okay.
They're like these little bottles, and like it says black cherry. That's my go-to thing right now.
All right. And finally, the last lightning round question. Can you explain to me the splendors of nature?
It's hard to put into words without I don't know. You just go out there and there's trees and you can smell the forest and you hear the birds. I feel like the forest is like a big inspiration for like a lot of my music. That's why I kind of like have like trees and stuff across all my branding and whatnot. It's good.
Nature's good.
Yep.
It's good. I enjoy it as well. All right, so we're going to go ahead and move on to the fan questions here. We're going to try and get through all of them. We should be able to. So I'm going to go up, pull up Twitter. And
all right.
Our first question is from Wacky Papa himself. It's Ryan Laffert. And he asks you, did you or do you ever practice singing, or is it just something you've done forever? Any hot singing tips?
So it's something I've done since I was probably 15. And I went through about 4 or 5 years of people making fun of me and telling me that I was bad and like, you should hire a singer and like all that shit. I think at some point I realized that like if I was like the music that I was imagining, like I had to sing it, otherwise it wouldn't sound exactly how I had pictured it, which may or may not be a good thing, but that's kind of what caused me to like pursue singing. And I personally don't think that I'm like an amazing singer. I think I'm like good. I think I'm like okay. Like I can get the job done, but I don't think of myself as like a great singer. But I don't really have like much of like a routine when it comes to like if I'm gonna like record vocals that day. Usually I'll switch on the mics and I might like sing the song a few times before I start recording. But what I'll do is I'll like take the part that I'm gonna sing, like select it in Reaper and then set that to repeat. And I'll just sing it over and over and over again until I get a take that I like. But I'm not a very like methodical singer. There's sometimes if I go to record vocals, I can tell that like the timbre of my voice is not like I don't like it, and so I have this it's like a nasal spray, and you like fill it with hot water, and then you put like the salt packet that comes with it in there, and then like I'll squirt that up my nose, and then like sometimes I'll like drink like lemon water, like I'll take lemon drops and put it in hot water, and like I'll do both of those things, and like that almost always works. So that's my tip. It the nasal spray is called like it's like Dr. Neal's. Like,
Dr. Neal's.
But it freaking works wonders. So
well, there you go. Ryan Lafford now going to be squirting salt water in his nose to sound like a pro singer.
Like a pro singer. You can sound like Josiah TM.
All right. Prang Official asks, what musical techniques or concepts are you interested in learning or exploring in the future? An example, learning a new instrument, incorporating new production tools or methods, or trying new genres.
Yeah, Ace and I were just talking about this earlier. And like effigy would be a good example of something that like there was like electric guitars and like bass lines and like it was more of like I don't know, just like a more ambitious sound, I guess, as opposed to just like the acoustic thing with like some synths like I usually do. So like I have all these like wild like slap bass lines and like riffs and stuff that I've always wanted to like put into an album. And I think after this one is done, this is more of like a quiet, like intimate, like personal album. It's like slower. I think after this one is done, I'm gonna do like a more upbeat, like I'm gonna get Austin to play drums for it and stuff, and it's gonna be, you know, something more like that. And then the other thing I would say is I want to dive more into like like electronic like composition kind of stuff, like maybe even like doing like a video game soundtrack, like that sort of thing in the future. But that's more of a lofty goal that I haven't uh, really taken a step towards yet. So I don't know, stuff.
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 Zhao Hughes asks, are there any other hobbies or miscellaneous activities that you are as interested in as music? And if so, do these other things help you with music in any way?
That's tough. I don't know if I'd say interested in as much as music, because music is like basically why I live. But I would say like things that I put time towards. Obviously, video games. I do play a lot of video games. Sorry, something fell over there and
distracted me. You're breaking Ace's stuff with the power of your voice.
Exactly. Actually, that might be the case. Video games. Something else that I do like somewhat frequently is I like to ride motorcycles. So like a lot of times, it's usually like dirt bikes and stuff. I love just like going out in the woods with some friends and just like tearing it up out there. Sometimes like I own like a dirt bike that has like plates on it, so I can go ride on the road and stuff. That's fun. I don't know, not a whole lot else besides just like random stuff that I do. Yeah, motorcycles and video games.
Yeah, there you go. Sky LeBlanc asks, do you know a lot of music theory, and how much do you even need to know to be a good writer? Also, what's your favorite Chopin piece?
Ooh. Okay, first half of that question. When I graduated high school, I didn't know anything about theory. I knew that some chords kind of sounded good. This was around the time I was getting into classical music. And I realized that in order to play the stuff that I wanted to play, I needed to learn some theory. So I went to college and I studied just general music there. I took some theory classes for 2 years. I was in the jazz band for a little bit, which I hated. No offense to people who were into jazz band, that's fine. But at one point, I had talked to the director of the orchestra there, and he sort of like, I just told him that I can't really read music. I kind of can, but I really want to get involved with the orchestra. So what can I do? And he put me on the triangle for Beethoven's Ninth Symphony.
Nice.
So I'd sit there, and this guy was like really, really like just had a wealth of knowledge. And so he would just like, as we're going through like rehearsing the Ninth Symphony, he'd be like breaking down like everything about the chords and like, you know, the history of like Beethoven, just the whole thing. And it was like, it really had a massive influence on me. So between that and like taking some music theory classes, like I have like a pretty good foundational understanding, but I've forgotten so much of it, and so much of it I just don't use. And I personally think that at the end of the day, like if you can make a good song, you can make a good song. It doesn't matter if you know exactly what the chords are, but at the same time, it really helps to kind of know, you know, what you're working with. So anyways, yes, I know like a fair amount, but a lot less than I should probably.
All right.
So there's that, and then the Chopin one, I'm gonna sound like a total plebe because I wouldn't be able to tell you exactly what the pieces are called, but like the Grand Waltz, I think it's an A flat major, is one of my favorites of his. Obviously the Etude, I think it's Opus number 3 in E, and his F minor Etude, I think it's Opus 10. Like those are some of my favorites. So Chopin is probably my favorite musician. Period.
Really?
Yeah, he's the man.
He's the man.
He's the man, but he might be dead. But he's the man.
All right. iLilla101 asks, what is your process for choosing lyrics for your songs?
It's interesting. This is gonna sound like some hippie ass bullshit, but it's like, say like, like like one of the Earthbound lyric covers that I did. That music really means a lot to me on a very deep personal level. So like when I chose, like, say, the Home Sweet Home one, I knew that I wanted the song to be about like the fact that Ness can be afflicted by homesickness, which is like,
Mm.
I don't know, that's like a very like deep concept for me. And it's like, even just talking about it like gets me choked up. But I knew that was like the concept, right? But it's like, I don't like sit down and I'm like writing down like lyrics beforehand. It's like I'll start working out the chords and then the music just like starts to like speak to me, like literally in my mind. I start hearing like words, and then I usually get like some lines that just come to me, and then I'll kind of just like expand out from there. So a
Yeah.
lot of it is just like black magic.
Yeah,
I don't know.
it's crazy. Like, it's weird because the way that I write my own lyrics for the very limited original songs that I have up on my channel, um, sometimes when I write songs and none of the songs that are up on my YouTube channel right now, I will like come up with a single line or a few lines and base sort of like almost a story or kind of pattern off of it.
Right.
But for the ones that I currently have up on my YouTube channel, I'd say that only actually technically two of them, because only two of them have lyrics. My process is like what I like to call the REM process, where basically I will say a bunch of words that sound good together and could possibly mean something, but only if you look for a meaning in them.
Yeah.
And that's normally really fun. Writing lyrics is fun.
Yeah, I feel like I have some similar like elements of that in my writing process. There's guys that it's like they need to, they're gonna write a song about like an event that happened, and it's like very specific, and it's like it's almost like they're more like a poet than I am. Where it's when I'm writing, it's like the music is like literally it's like speaking to me, and I'm just like translating. That sounds like so pretentious, but
I don't think it sounds pretentious. I would agree with that. It's music is some magic shit, man.
It really is, isn't it?
So Corbin West, who has the handle Corbination, you've won this interview, sir. Congratulations. Asks, what are your comfort albums? Ones you can play anytime and feel good. What albums give you the most nostalgia?
I can pretty much always put on Pork Soda by Primus. That's my favorite Primus album, and Primus is my favorite band. I don't know if I'd say that's my favorite album, period, but I can always just put that one on and it's good. That one, and probably like Dark Side of the Moon. I know it's cliche, but God, that's a good album.
It is a good album.
It's a good album. That is a good one.
Yeah. We have String Gauge 23, who asks, what are 5 albums that have inspired you as a musician? I'm assuming that means any 5 albums.
Yeah, so in order, I guess, or in semi-chronological order, I'd say Nevermind by Nirvana, even though that's not by a long shot my favorite Nirvana album. That would probably be Bleach, I would think. Most of my favorite Nirvana songs were like never officially released.
Sure. Like B-side stuff?
Yeah. All the B-side stuff is like my favorite. Like the song Verse, Chorus, Verse is like my favorite Nirvana song probably. Actually, my favorite Nirvana song is called Big Long Now. It's on Incesticide, and it's just like extremely like creepy and haunting. And that's one you put on your headphones and you listen to in the dark, and it's really good.
Nice.
So Nevermind. All right, I said Port Soda. That was kind of the same period of time. And then probably Dark Side of the Moon. When I was like 17, I would say, was when I discovered that album. And there was a period of like a month or two when I listened to it like on repeat every day, and I'm not exaggerating. It was just like it just blew me away. That album, dude. So there was that one, and then After that, probably OK Computer by Radiohead. That was another one I put on repeat, and that one had a pretty big influence. Trying to think of what else. I don't know. There's a lot of stuff, but I feel like that's a pretty good.
That's a good number.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think that was 4. Whatever.
go check them out. Lucario Ocarina asks, what drives you to keep creating music? In other words, what are your biggest motivators?
I don't know. This is something I've been kind of like asking myself. Like I said, over the last like year, just trying to figure out like, why, and I still haven't quite landed on a definitive answer. But I really would just say that there's just music in my mind, and it has to get out. Like as simply as I can say it, it's that's what it boils down to. Like sometimes I have some ideas that just come to me, and I'm like, man, I think this is good, and I need to make it a reality. So it's like constantly being harassed by musical ideas, and the only way to make them go away is to release them into the world.
Yeah.
So
GA Road Music, or Ga Road Music, who is named Michael Kelly, and if I'm not mistaken, is the composer for the game Valhalla, which is
yes.
super cool. Thank you so much for asking a question, Michael. He asks, what was the first song you learned on guitar, and why that one?
Okay, so first I'm going to say Michael is a beautiful human being. I love, like, oh my god, I love the Valhalla soundtrack so much. Okay, I'll make the Valhalla soundtrack will be my 5th most influential album. So I'm going to go back to that question. I'm going to put that.
There you go.
Yeah, I just love his work so much. First song I learned on guitar, right? That was it.
Yeah. First song you learned on guitar, and why that one specifically?
Yeah, the first one, I think I kind of already answered this. But the first one with any like real weight to it was "Smells Like Teen Spirit," drop D. But I will go a step farther, and I'll say that the song that really got me into like fingerstyle, that really kicked that off, was Alice's Restaurant by Arlo Guthrie, which is like a story song, and it has like this really cool like walking bass line and all that. There was a day when I stayed home sick from school, and there's a film called Alice's Restaurant, and there's a part in there where he's sitting there with a 12-string guitar, and he just plays that riff over and over again. And I had that recorded on my Dish Network like DVR back, like, I don't know when this was, freaking
100 years ago.
And I just watched it over and over and over again until I could play it. And that's what really got me interested in learning how to fingerpick. So
yeah, that's really cool. All right, we got 2 more here. Captain Eagle VA asks, what was your main inspiration for getting into music in the first place? Was there a light bulb moment, or has it just always been a thing you wanted to do?
It really was. It was like, yeah, the drop D guitar thing. Once I realized that I could tell the guitar what to do, like that was the light bulb moment. I remember when I was super young, like probably 3 or 4, I had a little Casio keyboard, and I had learned how to play like some like Disney song on it, like just by listening to it. And like I kind of wish that my parents would have like recognized that and got me piano lessons back then, because it probably would have made a pretty big difference. Although I'd be on a different path than I am now.
Sure.
But I don't know. That was probably like the first little spark, was that I could like recreate that song on the keyboard. And like, I don't know, whatever it was, 10 years later when I picked up the guitar, that it was that same feeling of like, learning how to make sound with an instrument.
Yeah, definitely. And the final question that we have here is Hyperion XD asks, what's your favorite sequel in the latest Star Wars trilogy?
Is there a sequel? Is there a Star Wars trilogy that's not the original one? I don't remember. I don't think there is one.
I'm pretty sure that there's only 3 movies, as far as I remember.
That's what I thought.
So I don't know if they're making a new one. I mean, maybe I should check it out. I haven't heard of it if they're making a new one, but
I'll answer that with Empire Strikes Back.
There you go. All right, so that's gonna go ahead and bring us to the end of our interview. we have two more things we like to do on the show before we sign off. The first being, at the beginning, you received Carlos's question for you. So it is now time for me to reveal the next interview will be with our boy Ropan Uganti, formerly known as Swiggles 1987. So what is your question for Ro?
Okay, let me think about this for a second. Will you play sitar for me on a song?
Well, there you go. Expect a Josiah and Ro sitar collab within the next coming months. That better happen. I want to see that.
Yeah.
And then my favorite part of the interview, the final part of the interview, every single time I interview somebody on the show, I will write for them or cover for them any song that they want that's about 10 seconds long. So it can be a cover of anything you want. It can be a song about anything you want. It can have lyrics about whatever you want or no lyrics at all. It can have a particular technique or genre. Get creative. What do you want to hear, Josiah?
Okay, I want to hear what Richati B's face sounds like.
Oh, okay. I mean, the first thing that immediately came to mind is just like a tuned down fart noise. But that's like not musical, so I don't know how I'll make that musical, but I'll definitely make it work. That's probably the most creative one I've gotten so far. That's oh my god. All right. Well,
what you should do is just send me like one of my own songs.
One of your own songs, yes.
Because apparently I look like Rich.
Yeah, there you go.
Don't do that. That's cheating.
That's definitely not cheating. It's going to be more artistically creative in expressing that, and you're going to hear that right now. Alright, so that goes ahead and brings us to the end of our interview. Josiah, why don't you let everyone know where they can find you, where they can find the stuff you're doing, and how they can support you right now?
Yeah, just check me out on Twitter and Instagram and YouTube at Josiah Everhart. If this interview is how you're introduced to my music, then keep an eye out for this album that I'm working on because I think it might be good.
Maybe, just maybe it'll be good.
Maybe.
There's a chance. If you liked what you saw, definitely subscribe to my channel. I do music covers and originals of my own. If you want to help support the channel, check out my Patreon, and we will be having our interview with Ro sometime next month. So Josiah, thank you so much for being on the show, and we'll catch you next time.
Absolutely.
Later.
Later.